everybody. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Before we begin, I just want to recognize that we're here at this event on the traditional territories of the Nanaimo First Nations. Welcome. Thank you everyone for being here. It's been a long summer. Hopefully everyone had a great summer. And we have an awesome year of programming ahead of us. Thanks to our programming team. Just a few items that I wanted to cover. I wanted to say a big thank you to our programming team, to John Mountain, Donna, and Marie for organizing the Queen Charlotte Air Memorial in the summer. The turnout was fantastic and a ton of work went into that. So I just want to give a round of applause and a big thank you. It's absolutely fantastic. I also want to say thank you to Mayor Krog for adding some personal reflections at that event, and everyone else who poured their effort and time into it. We have a couple of items that I want to cover. Oh, and one other thing. There was 88 people in attendance, which is phenomenal. 3 items, and then I'm going to pass it over to Anne-Marie to lead the presentation tonight. We are looking for a new treasurer on the board of directors. So we're looking for volunteers within the NHS, somebody who'd be happy to take over as treasurer. We are also looking for somebody to join the grants committee, I believe in the new year, in January. So we usually have 3 people on that committee. It's going to be dropping down to 2, so if anybody feels like being involved in the grants process, it would be evaluating grants and approving them to bring them to the board. And then we are also looking for a new refreshments volunteer. So, we're looking for lots of help. And that's it. That's my introduction here. I'm going to pass it off to Anne-Marie. And, oh, sorry, I should introduce what's happening tonight. Yeah. We are celebrating 125 years of the Cavallotti Lodge. I also wanted to, introduce Anne-Marie. I'm sure everybody here knows Anne-Marie, and this is Ian Cumpstone. They're going to be leading the presentation tonight. And I wanted to mention that part of the funding for this project was from the Arthur Leynard grant through the NHS as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Anne-Marie, and thank you everybody again.
All right, well, thank you everybody for being here. And we stepped out of the normal venue, so we appreciate you coming out to the Cavallotti Lodge. You'll soon hear about some of the future plans for this building. So, I think you'll find out that it's quite interesting to be in here tonight when you hear about what's going on in the future. So Ian is the president of the Cavallotti Lodge. My name is Anne-Marie. I'm now a director of a board of directors member, as well as the co-chair of the programs committee. All this manifested before I joined the board, just as a regular member. So we're just really excited to show you what's been going on for the last year or so as we capture 125 years of the Italian community here, specifically Cavallotti Lodge in Nanaimo. I'm going to kind of pass it between Ian and myself, a couple different forms of media to show you, so we might be not perfectly polished, but I think genuine is where it's at. So thank you again for being here.
Right, big welcome to the Cavallotti. I probably don't sound Italian, because I'm not, but that's okay. If you buy one of the new history books that Anne-Marie's writing for us, you'll see that non-Italians were allowed to join about 20 or 25 years ago. They changed the constitution. So that's why I'm here. A big thank you to the Historical Society for the grant. Celebrating 125 years and building a new lodge, we thought, bloody hell, if we don't do something, we're going to lose our history. And as you'd appreciate, in 125 years, there's a lot has happened. And so many of our members are getting older, so we thought it vital to try and learn about the history, retain it, get it, and store it so we don't lose it in the future, and that the young ones can remember and learn about what used to happen. So that's sort of why we applied for the grant, and we're very thankful, and we've managed to get not all of it done. There's so much stuff to digitize and scan and work out what to keep. I call it the cull. Have you heard of the word cull? We have that in New Zealand with sheep. You cull the skinny ones and the sick ones and you eat the good ones. But when you cull archives or you cull history, we have to work out whether it's worth saving, whether we store it, archive it, digitize it. And I've been on a big learning curve about all our history floating around up there somewhere now. I can sort of understand it when it's on a stick because I can see it and touch it and plug it in and read it, but the way it's stored these days, it's a learning curve for all of us. So anyway, Anne-Marie.
Good stuff. Thank you, Ian. Okay, so we've got kind of two chunks of the presentation, or different topics. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the Cavallotti Lodge. Of course, I'm going to, again, acknowledge that the Cavallotti Lodge inhabits and conducts activities on the land of the Nanaimo First Nation, who are the original inhabitants and steward of the lands that we now enjoy here. So when I was just a regular member, I'd heard about the grants that were available, the Arthur Leynard grant, and I was like, oh my goodness. Ian and I had actually started this process about a year before the grant even became a thing. My profession is a writer, so I do numerous kinds of media, but I do obviously have an interest in history, so I thought it would be a pretty good fit. When we applied for the grant, we had 3 goals. That was to capture stories, to preserve and record 125 years of archives. So as Ian said, it's been quite the process. And then write a book. So you're going to get a little preview of that today. We're just going to tell you about the lodge and the history of it. So Felice, it's Felice or is it Felice? Felice, see, pardon me. And you're going to learn something interesting about myself alongside Ian as well a little bit later. So it's most commonly referred to as a Cavallotti Lodge, but started as a mutual aid society, and we'll tell you in a minute why. Between 1887 and 1900, there was a mass migration from Italy. It was a time of unrest. Prime Minister Francesco Crispi was known for his authoritarian governance, military expression, and an aggressive form of policies. So life in Italy just wasn't very good around that time. So people wanted to come and search for a better life that they could support their families. BC and Vancouver Island, as well around with other parts of North America, became a common destination to find work for many Italian immigrants, mostly men at the time, not always their whole family. Due to the vast resources of coal here, it was kind of a little bit synonymous a little bit later than the Industrial Revolution, so coal is recognized as a really valuable energy source. As many know who might have gone on the coal mining presentation or field trip in June, that mines were not the best working conditions. They had poor air circulation, risks of flooding, and great exposure to methane gas and coal dust. So this resulted in chronic respiratory diseases such as black lung and silicosis. Ian and I were trying to figure out the presentation or the pronunciation of that word earlier. So why did Italian coal miners eventually move to a mutual aid model? It was pretty low and unstable wages for coal miners. A lot of their wages or what they were paid, it kind of jumped around as to how they were paid. Either they were based on efficiency or load or the weight of coal that they extracted. I'd also want to acknowledge Lynn Bowen being here, who is an extensive scholar and writer about Italian history. So Lynn also provided us a lot of this information. But a lot of the other immigrant communities who had come to BC and Vancouver Island had strikes because of the poor working conditions. But the Italian crew, they crossed the picket line and acted as strike breakers when other immigrant communities, refused to continue on with the type of work. So from previous compendiums of the history of the Cavallotti Lodge and Italians, we found in the Mines Accident database that between June 1884 and April 1900, just for the Italian community, there was 16 incidents of death, 8 incidents of burns, and 19 incidents of injury among the Italian community, just in the Vancouver Island coal mines. So that's quite significant. So the Italians got together and said, well, what are we going to do about this? We need to help each other out. A lot of the men still had their families in Italy that they needed to send money to support. Of course, some of them would pass away, so there was money needed for funeral expense, and of course to help them with injuries or illnesses, time off work when they weren't able to make their wages. So the Cavallotti Lodge, or the what was called then the Felice Cavallotti Mutual Aid Society, was established in 1900. So exactly, it was November 1900. So almost exactly 125 years ago, as a mutual aid society. The characteristics, mutual aid still very much exists today and is a very practice among community members, where reciprocity, shared resources, solidarity, and a deep sense of community, boiling it down, just helping each other out, helping one another out, and if something bad were to happen, make sure everybody was covered and taken care of. So since the founding in 1900, the Cavallotti Mutual Aid Society was able to help 16 workers and their families just within the first 40 years of it existing, so 1900 to 1940. So that's pretty interesting to see that did have impacts right away. So it was actually established out in Extension, November 4th, 1900, as I mentioned. There's 54 founding fathers, and it was a men's-only group at the time. They referred to each other as brothers. Chapters officially were formed in Ladysmith, which later moved to Nanaimo, and there's also a chapter up in Cumberland. This is our founding document. I'm not going to read it all out, but maybe I'll just read the first paragraph, because it kind of sums up what the purpose was. So, for the purpose of settling among us workers for the injuries and misfortunes, as for the sickness and deaths of which we are subjected in our hard work, we have formed the present society, with which to establish conformity in the administration of the privileges, honors, discipline, and benefits due to each member thereof. So obviously this is in Italian. I don't know what it says, but Google Translate's a very helpful tool. So yeah, it says it was founded in Extension BC Mines, November 4th, 1900. It should be located in Ladysmith, again, later Nanaimo, with a branch in Cumberland.
Just a comment on that. So learning to archive things, like we have the original document, eh?
Oh.
So it's trying to look after that and know what to do with it. So that's where's Christine? Has been very helpful in advising Anne-Marie about what we do with some of these documents.
Yep.
And how to store them and things like that.
Yeah. Christine's been a tremendous support.
Can I interject with just
Please.
I noticed that this precedes the Workers' Compensation Act by about 6 to 8 years.
Well, that's an important point.
It sort of
Thank you.
anticipates the conversation that's going on nationally, because that happened in Ontario first, and then BC followed suit about 2, maybe 3 years later.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing that point. Did everybody hear that? It precedes the Workers' Compensation Act. And that's very good to know, that's good to know that the brothers then banded together before the government did. So yeah, that's really nice. So who is Felice Cavallotti? Why is this lodge named after this individual? So he was Italy's poet of democracy. He gained early attention for his lampoons or satires in the newspapers about Prime Minister Crispi. He's very, very against the Prime Minister's actions and kind of what he had done to the country and the conditions that people are living in. So he was on the extreme left. He's a defender of the little guy, according to one of our members, Franco Sartor, who you'll hear from over video a little bit later, which is very reflective of the purpose of the Cavallotti Lodge. I'm just kind of flipping through between the old and the new name, because it's a little bit easier to say the Cavallotti Lodge, but it was indeed called the Felice Cavallotti Mutual Aid Society. And it kind of went through different iterations over the years, but it's just easier for me right now to call it the Cavallotti Lodge. Cavallotti was elected to Parliament in 1872. His opposition of the Prime Minister Crispi only grew through his fiery speeches, again his satires or lampoons in the newspapers, or his journalism and his poetry. All in protection of the civil liberties of his fellow Italians. He died in a duel in Rome in 1898 with a legacy as a fierce defender of democratic ideas. The book title and the presentation title that you just saw is called Days Gone By, which is a translation for one of his poems that we were able to dig up called My Muse. Again, Google Translate and AI kind of came in handy for that, but I extracted that title from his own poem. So he has quite a bit. He did quite a bit. He's got a pretty nice legacy. Again, I don't really know what this says, but this is a plaque honoring his legacy. So what is it now? So I'm going to speak to kind of half of this, and then I'm going to pass over Ian, because Ian is the president. With no offense, I call him Saint Cavallotti, kind of behind the scenes, because he really does do he really does do everything for this place. He's always here. He's such a wonderful contributor to this community. So eventually it moved away from a mutual aid society as working conditions improved, and Italians began expanding to other professions. A lot of families or men would bring their whole family over here once they saw that this is a pretty nice place to live. And at first, only those with Italian lineage can participate, and they're pretty hard and fast on that rule at that time, I mean. As I mentioned, it was a men's only lodge, but in 1946, the Ladies Auxiliary, or the Sisters of the Felice Cavallotti Lodge, was established with its own purpose and rituals of serving the lodge, community, and one another. So now it's the best way to describe it would be a fellowship of celebrating Italian culture and everything that has to do with that. I think we could all agree, no matter what lineage or heritage you come from, Italian food is some of the best food that you can find out there. So, and it goes way beyond that. Food, dance, games, sport, bocce, wine, yeah, lots of wine, yeah. And it wasn't until the late 90s that they rethought their approach about whether only Italians are to be included. There was quite a bit of marriages of Italians to non-Italians, and that meant that some people kind of had to stay out of the participation because they didn't have that pure Italian lineage. So Franco Sartor, that you'll see in a moment again, he amended or expanded their constitution to include people of all countries of origin. And it's open to all identities and a welcome space to all, including all of you. So I'm going to get Ian to talk to you about some of the things that are happening on a regular basis here at the lodge, and then what's happening with this physical lodge. So go right ahead, Ian.
Yeah, so as Anne-Marie said, it started off as a mutual aid. It was men's only. Then the ladies went on their own, and after good behaviour, they were allowed to join. So, but the men used to traditionally be in the kitchen quite a bit. Well, they keep that quiet, but they used to do a lot of the cooking, especially around Christmas time, I've been told. Although, since I've been here, I think the ladies have worked their way back in. I've been a member of the lodge coming about 18, 19 years, and to me, I'm amazed about the community support that the lodge gives, the camaraderie between people. It's a totally open society. We have Filipinos, Cambodians, Fijians, obviously our own indigenous people, East Indians. They're building a Sikh temple about 50 yards away from us. So that sort of cultural involvement together or sharing, it's changing here. I can remember talking to one or two of the older guys in the lodge when the developer approached us about the Sikh temple going up. And I was so pleased, or proud even, that they changed their attitude, because they were a little bit against it. And we basically talked through it, and they realised that, yeah, it's time to move on and change and accept all cultures. So that's one of the main focuses of the lodge. Part of the problem of the lodge, though, COVID didn't help. And we had, oh gosh, there was about 300 members, and after COVID, we got way down to about 100. We lost a lot of members. A lot of our members were very old. And our building's getting older. We sort of duct tape it and stick it together, but we realised we've got to do something to try and attract the younger people to the lodge, and as well as continue to involve the older ones. Like, I'm getting a bit old now, but I'm talking a lot older than me. So, and that's one of the reasons we decided to video a lot of our older members, so their stories would not be lost. And I think it's going to be really neat. We aim to have in our new facility a TV, a bit like Woodgrove, you know, where you go in and you want to find a shop, and you'll be able to push on it, the TV, and you'll be able to watch videos of some of our old members talking, sharing their lives, their stories. You'll be able to watch videos of sausage making, of making the sauce, the pasta, things like that. So that's going to be an exciting innovation in the new building. So Anne-Marie's got it up there already. That's a Campolina, I think it is. Lynn's probably seen a lot of them. In Italy, evidently, you guys will know more than me. Ian Nymath, our architect, decided we should have a Campolina. So it's sort of a bit like a bell tower. That's the best sort of description I can make of it. I don't know if we ring the bell when the tuck is cooked and they come in, but I'm not sure. It might have a clock on it. That's what I said, wasn't it? No. Wow. Eerie.
I couldn't figure out what you were talking about.
Anyway, so we've spent quite a bit of time working with our architect and to come up with this design, and yeah, we're very hopeful that next year we can start building at some stage next year. might depend on Leynard's office, see how kind they are to us and how quickly we can pass all the questions or answer all the questions they'll have for us. So the youth, we've one of our mission statement is to provide for the youth, and we have annual scholarships. We doubled our scholarships this year from 2 to 4, but it's our intention to have an exchange program with young Italians coming here to share the culture with us and our kids going there. And I think it'll be a really exciting innovation. Another thing we'd like to do is take a bus trip. So, you know, hop on a bus and grab all the older members or younger ones that are keen and go to Italy and enjoy that sort of thing. So we've got, lots of exciting things on the horizon, but it's one step at a time. So at the moment we're designing the building, going through all that process. We're fundraising, we're trying to archive, trying to digitize all our history, and that's the focus at the moment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the projects itself that we received the grant from the Nanaimo Historical Society for. Again, I mentioned earlier that we started in September of last year, so it's been a year that we've been working on this project. The grant has significantly helped in that. So who was involved? So of course Ian, myself, so I've mentioned that I'm a freelance researcher and writer, multi-topics. My business is called Words for Impact. Janet Mason, so back in 2000, which is hard to even believe saying back in 2000, but in 2000, Janet and a little team created a poster book. I just listed as a compendium, which is literally a big book where you, not even a book, I don't even know what you call it, a presentation board or whatever, where you would literally flip through and be all on poster board with all these photos. Flip chart, yeah, whatever you want to call it, but it wasn't very mobile. We actually tried to bring it to my office space from here just so I could use it as a reference, and it all fell apart and all that stuff. But so that was kind of a sign that we needed to update the written history of it. The history committee, so I know Stella's here joining us today, and Stella, you're on the history committee, along with Janet, who I just mentioned, and a few other ladies. The individual members and contributors for photographs and family histories. So we did ask everybody to basically submit whatever they had. And I'll tell you when we kind of get to the challenges to opportunity part how we did that. And family histories, oral history contributors, so Franco Sartor, Estella again, Ian did one as president, Lynn Bowen, and Fred and Doris Levusoto came in. Before you leave here, we'll take the screen up. I'd really encourage you to take a look at the mural behind us. It's of Venice. And it was created by a gentleman.
Derek Rickwood.
Yep, gentleman named Derek Rickwood. It took him 111 hours to complete, and he actually has every stage of his completion of this beautiful mural. He did a journal, which was really nice to look at as I kind of wrote about it. So he gave me an updated accounting of his own experience with that. And then the Nanaimo archives and previous contributors on various archiving places that may or may not exist still, but we relied heavily on what they had come up with in that 2000 poster book or flip book, or whatever you want to call it. Pardon me. Okay, so challenges to opportunities. So we did have some challenges, but we decided to look at them as opportunities rather than barriers. As Ian alluded to, he is not Italian. He's from New Zealand. I'm not Italian either. I'm of Scottish and German heritage for the most part. So it was kind of history I had never really tapped into myself. Ian kind of married into the Italian community via his wife, Karen Morelli, who, at the time. So we engaged members and experts, Lynn being one of them, and Stella, and actual Italian folks to tell us all the ways about being Italian. We were missing 25 years, so again, I said we had that 2000 book, but we didn't have any efficiently or effectively compiled resources that captured 25 years. So it was for the 100th year anniversary that she had done this book, but we didn't have everything collected. And I'm just going to kind of skip down scattered and missing or borrowed archives. So all the archives we did have, it would be at this person's house or this person's house, or somebody had taken it from the poster board for their own reasons or whatever. So for that, Ian assigned members of the history committee, like Stella, to tackle various rooms within this facility and go through everything that was here. We finally found just a couple of weeks ago a file folder of all the original news articles, a few boxes of photos, and we're doing our very best. I'll talk a little bit about that later. Now, as somebody who studied history in my Bachelor of Arts, myself, I did a lot of reflecting before I took this project on. So this is 125 years ago. The world now, as we understand it, is very different than 1900. So historicism, so like, do you look at the project with the perspective of how it was back then, or presentism through present eyes, 2025? So there's a lot that wasn't mentioned in the 2000 compendium, not out of ignorance, but just, I guess, an evolution of how we see the world now and understand the world. So I integrated both approaches. So I didn't slam or try to correct things that might not have flown in 2025 that happened in 1900, but just kind of acknowledge that this might not be something that we would talk about. A couple of examples being acknowledging Canada's colonial past. So the immigrant community was actually coming over here while there was residential schools happening. There was a lot of damage happening to the Indigenous members of this country. So the immigrant experience was very different than our Indigenous the original stewards of the land. So I acknowledge colonialism. Another example was that Columbus Day was something that was annually celebrated at the Cavallotti Lodge, but that's actually been weeded out in Canada. We don't have Columbus Day in Canada now, and my understanding is that it's been replaced by Indigenous Peoples Day, I believe. And we all know a little bit better now that Christopher Columbus didn't discover the Americas. So we do allude to that in the book, but it's just kind of not knowing anybody. They didn't really know what they didn't know at that point, and you can't really fault them for that. Getting the word out, so engaging the members and letting them know that we're doing another compendium, and I keep bringing up that word. Ian didn't even know I was talking about this morning. We were talking about it, but yeah, a lot didn't know, so Ian would mention in every newsletter that went out, and then he was very, very active in having one-on-one conversations with different members. We're doing this, we really want your contributions, so please help in any way you can. As Ian mentioned earlier, there's a lot of aging members. Some of our members are in their 90s, I believe. And we wanted to make sure we got their stories. We kind of pushed them to the front of the line of the stories we wanted to get. Luckily, they're all with us still, but so we did engage them first, make sure we get those stories documented. And just different methods of communication. I'm a millennial, so I'm used to computers and email and typed documents, whereas a lot of our members want to write it out by hand, which is completely fine. Or they'd rather talk about their experiences rather than write it out. So I had to adapt to that, and that was fine and enjoyable. And yeah, so these were some of the challenges that we turned into opportunities. So at first it was a little bit daunting, but we made it happen. So the collecting stories, as I said earlier, we had three goals. So I'm going to kind of outline how we went about all those 3 goals. So collecting stories. So again, we said we did oral histories from longtime members and Lynn Bowen, the expert historian on Italy, and we invited family records or stories and photo submissions, so we asked a lot of the families to just tell whatever format they would like, tell us a little bit about who they came from, how they got here, how their families have evolved over the generations, and then provide a few photos that we could put into the book. Again, one-on-one conversations, the photographs and news archives, and then again that 200 or 2,000 compendium poster book. So it's a very interesting story. We're still getting last-minute submissions, which we're totally fine with, because we'll make sure they get in.
Just on that, I think we've worked out pretty quickly that we're not going to just, because the 125th anniversary is October the 18th, we're not going to stop this process then. It's got to be an ongoing thing in the Cavallotti. So each year we're going to try and appoint someone to be in charge of the historical record keeping, if for want of a better word. And I would imagine we'll continue to video a lot of our, especially elder people in the future, and continue to collect stories, not just stop now, you know.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to flip over to one of the videos that we took. I had mentioned Franco Sartor, who has a very long affiliation with the lodge. When it was even just a shack. This property had been bought maybe in the 50s or 60s, and the first iteration of this building was the shack. So it was literally just a wooden gathering space. The shack, yeah. So he alludes to that. And then this building was actually, they had the ribbon cutting in 1969. So this wasn't always around. It was sometimes in different parks, different venues that they would meet, but they decided, hey, let's make our own space. So I'm going to flip over to the video. I'm going to hope that we're going to get sorry, the mouse is a little bit wonky here, but yeah, hopefully I'm going to be able to get, pardon me, get good audio on this. Sorry, it's a little bit chuggy on the mouse here. Oh, pardon me. Sorry. Maybe I'll even put oh dear.
And yes, three of them. And yes, Papa, you just show me a little bit. You really talk about the trajectory of your life.
I don't know if you're going to hear that.
Also, Cavallotti Lodge starting really early. You kind of talk about how, starting early in the lodge has led you to your presidency, and then how you're still connected to the lodge and the Italian community.
So going back, so there was the young king, and the fact they lived next door, the Italian community came there, and I certainly learned a lot of Italian there, as well as the dialect that I spoke at home. We grew up, and I got to help build the shack, and then moving on, we we went on with our lives and were involved in the community and many different things, from taxis to mill work to, I can't even list them all. We finally joined the club, and when we joined the lodge, and I became president, one of the things I wanted to do was what can we bring back for culture? And so we talked about winemaking because that's what we do, but in all fairness, that had too many potential situations that we need to get involved, especially that we did have a hall here. So we settled on making sausages. And so we invited all the members that wanted to come, and they could make up to 10 pounds of sausages. And they had a sign-up list, and if they came, they paid $2.50 or $3 a pound for their sausages, and that included a lunch and a glass of wine, and you learned a little bit about making sausages. And so the first event, we had Jane in the kitchen, we had 30 people helping in some way to make this first sausage making event go. So the sausage making actually is still taking part today and is going forward. So years later, I was here, and I used to go to, I was president for a couple of years, and when I was president, Tony Sadola was the consular correspondent for Mid-Island, if you will. Now his job was more devoted to what the position is, and that is to provide information from the Consul General in Vancouver to our community. And in turn, if there's something happening in our community, his job is to send that information to Vancouver, and he would either drive over there for the day or he'd phone and that. He was not really a paper kind of person. He didn't have a computer. After 40 years, and he's been talking about this for a couple of years, but after 40 years, he said, Franco, you have to take over this job. I've been doing it for 40 years, and there was Andy Ercolini that used to do it before me, and he was doing it for many years, and it's time for you to take over. Now, Andy Ercolini, I'll sort of go back, was a predecessor to Tony as a consular correspondent, and Andy was involved in the lodge as well, as he helped people with some of the paperwork. So with their Italian paperwork, their passports, their visas, their pensions as they got older. If they'd worked in Italy, they were entitled to pensions and so on. So that's sort of the role that I've taken on, and I've been doing that for the last 15 years, although with privacy laws these days, my role has been limited.
Stop it there. Yep, so that's just a little sample. Now, Franco is a wealth of information, a repository of information about this lodge, because he's been involved through his father, maybe even grandfather. He's got great stories, been a great reference. Sorry again here. Oh dear, okay. Yeah, pardon me. Okay, too many things at once. Yeah, he's been a great wealth of information, and as you can see from what he just said, the connection to Italy is still very strong through various roles. So archiving photos and articles. So Ian and I went to visit Christine at the Nanaimo archives, and Christine was very helpful on how we can put together a system, for lack of a better word, on how to archive our materials. So we purchased acid-free folders and file boxes to store everything. We determined the categories for the archive, so I'll show you that in a little next slide, and a little start to what we've got. We began scanning photos, articles, and other archives through London Drugs. You can purchase a little or big box from them and just shove it full of all sorts of photos and documents, and they'll digitize it for you. So that was a very helpful thing. We also had some like manual scanning and stuff like just from the members, which is very helpful. As I mentioned before, Ian assigned the history committee to tackle certain archives or certain rooms for digital and physical storage that will go into the new building. And we are keeping a master archive spreadsheet, but this is not going to be a short process by any means. So it's going to be an ongoing process that I think a number of volunteers, I'll stay involved, Ian, we're going to engage in this for quite a while, which will be interesting. So this is just a little preview of how Christine helped us figure out a little bit of a system with an accession number, different categories, so O for Origins, fun, games, and revelry, and so on. So that will help us just kind of code a few things, and again, a very long process, still probably go on for a couple of years, and we'll be adding over the years. And then Days Gone By is the book. So I'm going to give you now a preview of the book. This is still my rough work, so this is an exclusive look into the life of a sometimes scatterbrained writer. But you'll see how we're coming on, and I think I've probably got a couple more weeks to go or days to go before it goes to print. We're going to do a print version of it, and we're also going to host it on our website as a PDF document. Sorry, this mouse is, yep, so there's the book cover. I'm obviously not going to read everything for you, but just to show you what we've got compiled so far. So there's the cover. Sorry, I'm just going to...
Will there be hard copies available?
There will. So we're going to publish through self-publishing through Amazon, where basically it will be stored on Amazon print to order.
About $2,000 each.
Yeah, $2,000 each. No, it will be quite affordable. So yes, it will be online and print that people can order if they prefer that format. Yep, in the back.
Are you still open to oral submissions?
Yeah, we kind of put a cutoff, but it's still a work in progress. So if you're a member of the lodge.
Born into the lodge.
Oh, well.
My grandmother and my grandfather were original president, men's and women's.
Oh, well, how about that? And we've got another family member. I couldn't figure out the lineage on the spot, but Patricia over here is a member of or a relative of the first president. So please, and I'm sure I've come across your last name. Which one?
Weasel.
Oh, Lisa. Okay, I'm not sure I've come across that one yet, but we will have a photograph of your relative for sure. And again, I'm just sorry. This is a little bit of I wanted this to be a little bit smoother, but this is just a little bit weird of a computer here. Yep. So we've got a land acknowledgement here. Oh gosh. Sorry, I definitely thought this was going to, sorry, a little bit smoother, but this is a PDF. And again, I'm just going to really kind of whip through it and not show you all the details, but oh my gosh, if I can even do it. Oh my goodness. Kyle, I didn't realize we had such a wonky computer. Sorry, everybody. Oh gosh.
Do you want me to navigate it and you can speak?
Maybe. Yeah, so table of contents is still to be finalized because we don't know how many photos there are going to be. Oh, I guess I could have just used that. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll just do that. Okay, thank you. So chapter 1, the origins. So this is where we talk about the mass emigration from Italy in the late 1800s, a little bit about Crispy's rule, why people came to British Columbia. There's some old maps in there. Canada as a colonized country, a little bit about coal, mining, wages, working conditions, the Italian workers as strike breakers, the need for mutual aid, the founding fathers, and actually Patricia, I think this will be your relative right here, John D. Giovando. Yeah, so it's the fellow on the right here. So yeah. Becoming a member, we actually found, Ian and I just found this a couple weeks ago, where they had to, because they were doing mutual aid, they had to have a doctor's certification that they weren't coming into the society with previous injuries or illnesses or whatever that would require mutual aid, so that we found that quite interesting. These date back to the 1910s, 1920s, or around there. Who's Felice Cavallotti, pardon me. And there's, again, I refer to La Mia Musa, or My Muse, where the title of this came back. In this poem, you can really see how he's reflecting on the lost history, the lost past of Italy, and how things have changed, and his sadness over that. Again, I had mentioned that they started to make Vancouver Island their permanent home, so they started getting involved in different professions, union brewing, recreation club. Now, or I don't think it was reopened as a Cassidy Hotel, which I don't believe still exists, but. There's the Italian families, a couple of, 3 different families, the evolution that we spoke about, the Second World War, so there was actually some internment camps, not all of them, but about 31,000 Italian Canadians were labeled as enemy aliens because they had, they had gone against the British, sorry, I'm losing my words for,
We were fighting Italy.
yes, exactly. So they had aligned with the people we didn't want them to align with, I guess. So the Cumberland chapter of the society was very well established, but it did disband eventually. Expanded professions, a little bit of the ladies auxiliary, and I wanted to show you this opening oath that they have. I'll read it out here. We may not have what men call wealth or riches. We may not even have what they call fame, but if each day we try to do for others, we'll feel that we have really played life's game. So they're very much about service, and I really like that. They were very much had sisterhood. Here I've got a beautiful quote about from Stella, who shared in her oral history how when she had first moved to the island, she found a lot of camaraderie and friendships within the ladies auxiliary. So I really loved that story, so we included that. Again, there's the shack. And then there's the opening of this current facility in 1969. Features of the lodge building. So I always come here and get lost whenever I'm in here because there's so many different rooms in here. But this is the main hall. There's a room over there where old games like Triceti and Scopa are played.
Just in there, you talk about the brothers and sisters. Anne-Marie's talked about, the ladies auxiliary. So in the members' side, we have 2 members' rooms, really. One for the men, one for the ladies. So the men play their pool and their cards, and the ladies play their crib and other things that they do on that end. And we said to the guys, look, when we build this new building, we're just having one members' room. You got to learn to get on with each other. Well, these old buggers, they didn't like that. So anyway, they've come around as they were. One room.
Yeah, so this is a poster book I have been referring to a few times, just down at this bottom photo from 2000. Janet and Lenore, yeah, so Cal, we're very involved in that. Janet's been a fantastic resource, and every time I complete a chapter, I send it over to her and get her feedback and stuff. Now this is, so Derek Rickwood, again, I'd love you to take a look at the mural. He sent, this needs to be revised because he reflected in 2005. This was actually painted in 1996. He reflected in 2025, pardon me. on his process. So he had sent me a new kind of testimonial about his process, but again, it took him 111 hours, and he kept a journal all along. We're still waiting for a photo of good old Doris, who was the first female president. She didn't take the role, there wasn't a female president until 2010, and Doris Luvisoto was the president, and then next to Ian, of course. Yeah, fun games and revelry. So we talk about bocce. It's probably the most known Italian sport, and the courts are just over here. Is that correct? And they're quite traditional because they're sand. Notes to myself, put pictures in here. So you're seeing a real raw version of this, but it's going to all come together. Trissetti is a very lively card game. That's very hard to learn from what I hear. Scopa, waiting for some pictures. Italian music, and I couldn't resist putting this photo in because you can tell these guys are having a good time. Quite often in gatherings they would break out in old Italian folk songs, and I just love this photo because it's just clear as day that they've had quite a few wines. Yeah, yeah. The Tarantella, which is a traditional folk dance with a very interesting backstory that I won't get into right now, but Food and Celebration, they had created, I think it was around 2004, yeah, they had created this cookbook where all the members were invited to submit different family recipes and all sorts of kind of the full course of meals. Yeah, it was a fundraiser for the original 2000 compendium. So now they do a lot of wine tasting here. And it's a few photos of that. Sausage making, as Franco and I think Ian had alluded to. So there's some photos of them getting the meat. Sometimes they'll acquire a full pig and cut it up themselves, or sometimes they'll acquire just the meat, and then together they'll put in the herbs and spices and manually mix it all up together. And some wine. Okay, yeah, you need a little bit of moisture in there, and then put the casing around it. So, and this is a little bit kind of to where I've gotten so far. I still have to add a few more things, and then the project will be done and ready to print. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure putting this together with Ian, all the members. I've learned about a country that I hadn't had a lot of background in. I love this lodge. I've come to some dinners, and oh my goodness, the food is amazing. It's now catered by Spice of Life Catering, and yeah, it's just a wonderful place. And I really hope that the legacy continues. We want to make sure that this is captured now so that another 25 years down the road, 50, 75, 100 years down the road, those folks can understand what 1900 was through a 2025 lens. So we're hoping it's all going to come together nicely, and we're looking forward to the October 18th celebration, which is going to be a great time. So thank you on behalf of Ian and myself and all the members for coming out to the lodge, learning a little bit about it, sharing some of your associations. And does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Kyle.
Are you going to be trying to preserve the mural? Yeah, and bringing it to the building?
Good question, yes. Actually, why don't we...
Garrett thinks he can take it out in 3 parts, I think.
Amazing.
But then it's going to need a lot of touch-ups because it's on plywood, eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
So he had originally, I'm not sure if the projector... oh, there we go.
We can just turn, do you need the projector more?
No, we can just turn this off, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. So he had gotten this from an old, not old, but an Italian travel tourism book. Did you want to point out see if anybody can point something?
Yeah, a lot of people always comment about the little boy in the water. That was a mistake. It looks like he's not in the boat. Well, he's not supposed to be in the boat. He's in the water, swimming out to get that bouquet of flowers that are floating past. So poor Derek, because he has to explain that to every person that looks at him.
And then, yeah, they had these columns made so that it looked like you're actually looking outside, and it's quite a treasure. So it's nice to know it will be a part of the new building. So, yeah. Oh gosh, lots of questions. Yeah, I'll go Dave and then Sue. Okay, yeah.
Hi, and it's really nice to see in your presentation here of the Italian cookbook, because an uncle of mine submitted a recipe for that. His name was Archie Sebastiano, and it comes from Sicily. And he had the Archie's famous meatballs and spaghetti. And we had, the family has a copy of that book, and it was really nice that he cooked that for a lot of the family.
Oh wow, that's a pretty honored place to have in the book, because as Stella had explained to me, every family thinks their meatballs or their sauce is the best. So that's a pretty esteemed place to hold in the book, I would say. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Dave. Sue?
Well, hello everyone, my name is Sue Kriba and I'm on the Communications Committee for the Historical Society. I had many contacts from people in Extension and Ladysmith who would have liked to be here tonight. So I want you all to know that you know it's being videotaped. In a few weeks, the whole presentation will be on our website. So if you know of someone who wasn't able to come, please direct them to our website and I'll be able to view what we all enjoyed tonight.
Great, great, thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah, lots of questions. My goodness, I'll go Stella and then in the back there. Yeah.
I just have a question of those of you who have relatives that were here. What happened to you? You're not here. What's going on?
Yeah, everybody's welcome to join. Membership is very...
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. It's $25 a year.
And that gives you access to a lot of great things. Yeah, and in the back there, yeah. Yep.
So a lot of people who came to Canada from the Austro-Hungarian Empire in this time from 1875 to 1900 came with a mining background and came from areas where mining was a regular pastime, a regular occupation. Did those who came from Italy at that same time, 125 years ago, also come from areas of Italy that were well known for mining?
Yes.
Lynn could probably give the best answer for that. If you don't mind, Lynn, did you want to speak to it? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but...
I could give you a 6-hour lecture.
Yeah. Oh, no, maybe a whole lot.
Maybe a whole lot. Yeah, the wasn't much coal mining in Italy. People, even very much earlier than the 1880s, the peasantry had to leave their villages in the winter to get work in Austria or Germany or France, and there was coal mines in France that a lot of them went to. But the whole reason for emigration in those early days and for being strike breakers was the conditions in Italy were so minimal, and the rules, for instance, there was a code that from the Napoleonic Code that said that when you died, your property got divided up between all your sons. So each generation got a smaller and smaller bit of land to the point where you couldn't support yourself on that land. So they had to leave and work elsewhere to support their families at home and their parents. And so they would leave every winter and go work in Europe, and then eventually they started going to Australia, Argentina, then North America, Canada. British Columbia was a very early destination. They came to the gold rush in California and came up here. So it was desperation that made them into strike breakers. They were there to work and send as much money as they could home, and eventually accumulate enough money to go home so they could live in Italy.
Great, that's perfect. Thank you, Lynn. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but that's perfect. Yes, Lynn is quite the expert. Yeah, the details is awesome. Any other questions or last
I'd
words
like
from
to just
Ian? Or
conclude by a huge thank you to Anne-Marie for what she's done tonight and what she's achieved. She not only took on the digitizing of our history, she took on the development of a new website for us, which is up and running. So cavallottilodge.ca, go and have a look. A lot of the history that Anne-Marie's found and put together is now on our website as well. And of course, with the digitising of the archives and the book. So yeah, just wonderful, Anne-Marie. So we're so thankful and hope to keep you involved. She's going to join next year.
yeah.
Cool, so thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Carol, you join us, please?
Closing if you're all finished.
Yep.
Okay.
Just toss it over to our president.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much again to both of you. Anne-Marie is our most recent member on the board, and she has been a powerhouse, working hard all through the summer. So I don't think we could say thank you enough times. I would like to give one more round of applause. I know we just did, but I think two is perfect. And that's it for the programming for the evening. I do want to reiterate that, what our society does and the projects that we fund, I think are very important. So I know earlier I did make a call for volunteers. If you know anybody, if you can't volunteer yourself, if you know anybody in your network, please refer them to me. My email address is just president@NanaimoHistoricalSociety.ca, or alternatively, you can send a referral to Gord, and that's just secretary at NanaimoHistoricalSociety.ca as well. And then I just wanted to remind everybody that our next meeting is at the Bowen complex. Yeah, sorry. Community complex there. And I believe it's the same room that we've used. Room one, previously. So with that, we'll conclude the evening, and I want to thank everyone for being here again.
So it's always is it the second Thursday or? Shoot. Yeah.
I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but I'll find it on my phone here. Is it the 18th?
Second Thursday.
Yeah, I wish I had the program schedule in front of me. Somebody said the second Thursday of every month. Yes, so that's the best way to explain it.
The 10th. Okay. So the next meeting will be in the original room that we usually host the meetings in, and then I just wanted to welcome everybody to stay for a few minutes afterwards, mingle, enjoy the refreshments, and thanks again everybody for being here, and we're done.